in America is often considered a popular form of entertainment, but embedded in the walls of America's stage is really a deep social commentary. Playwrights have used the American dramatic medium to catalog sincere American mythology in a way that we as Americans live our lives. The central question to then ask about American drama is, how have we as an American culture and artistic society shaped our own vision of the dramatic form? What fuels meaning in the constitution and creation of American drama, from musicals to plays, to the monsters that we tackle through our own riveting comedies? Meaning in American drama is drawn from our individual connections to what it is to be an American, specifically an American in the 20th and 21st century. This construction can be simplified to 3 thematic points that raise questions that American dramatic artists have tried to answer. This digital story will attempt to relate those 3 themes to the way that we have formed our own style of drama in America. I will use some of the best plays ever written to look at how we have gone on to rebuild a dramatic form completely envisioned from the vantage point of the American dream. Some of the best stories ever told on the American stage, or even in American film, seem to be composed of dramatic elements, compelling twists, intriguing love affairs. But really, when you break it down, all of those stories have the fundamental root in common that they have to do with something that we're concerned with as Americans, problems that have come up in culture and society that we don't know how to answer and have to turn to the stage, especially post-1950, to answer. I say post-1950 because really when we're considering what American drama is, we're specifically relating that to post-war American drama, as the end of World War II brought forward a new image for American culture and what it really was to be an American in this country. In a way, our form of drama was formed from this connection to post-war society and as an extension of European drama from the 19th and 20th centuries. Mainly, this was presented in realism by playwrights like Anton Chekhov and Henrik Ibsen and acting theorist Konstantin Stanislavski, and the alienation movements by Bertolt Brecht. These forms came to the US and impacted the way that we wanted to create our own form of a national theater. Adding our own twist to these European elements, slowly American drama post-war was formed as a drama that spoke for the condition of all people and the struggles that guide all of our lives as individuals. Central to the thematic exploration inside of American drama is the American dream, the idea that no matter who we are, what job we have, if we work hard, we can get ahead. One of the main playwrights who tried to talk about this was Arthur Miller. He tried to figure out what it was that made us Americans, and if we worked hard, could we actually get ahead? What obstacles stood in the way of that happening? With his 1949 play Death of a Salesman, Miller tried to ask just that. What would happen to a man who worked really hard, but in the end didn't get ahead and didn't live up to his ideal of the American dream? Death of a Salesman tells the story of Willie Loman, a man who is a salesman who tries to support his 2 sons and his wife, and though he means well, though he feels he's well liked by everyone around him, he ends his life really with nothing to show for it, with nothing pulling him ahead. Death of a Salesman asks us critical questions about what it is to be living the American dream if we can't get ahead, and whether or not our true sense of the American dream has anything to do with working hard, if it has anything to do with the people that we know, or if it has something to do with bigger cultural values that we have no control over.
Your undoing, and when you're down and out, you remember what did it when you are rotting somewhere beside a railroad track, remember? And don't you dare blame it on me. Dad, I'm not blaming you. I'm not taking a rap for this.
Though Death of a Salesman grapples fruitfully with what the American dream is, it leaves something out. That is, the question of otherness, people who don't fit inside the ideal status quo of that American dream. Lorraine Hansberry brought this forth when she wrote a sense of her own American dream paralleling Death of a Salesman, called A Raisin in the Sun, asking what it was for the black experience in America.
You haven't even looked at it. You haven't even looked at it, and you don't even have to speak on it again? Well, you tell that to my boy tonight when you put him to sleep on the living room couch. And You tell it to him in the morning when his mother goes out of here to take care of somebody else's kids. And tell it to me when we want some curtains or some drapes and you sneak out of here and go work in somebody's kitchen. All I want is to make a future for this family. All I want is to be able to stand in front of my boy like my father never was able to do to me and tell him that he'll be somebody in this world besides a servant and a chauffeur. Huh? You tell me that, huh?
Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun points out that though we all agree as Americans that we need to work hard to get ahead, our positions in the world force us to go about doing that in entirely different ways. Hansberry's representation of otherness touched on the second big thematic point in American drama, that is, how we as unique individuals connect to a time that, for the majority of us not connected to the American ideal, seems not to have a place for us. The answer for many black and queer playwrights, speaking for marginalized groups such as Tony Kushner, was that interpersonal relationships look to fill the void of otherness in society, and for our inability to connect to social times. Kushner's Angels in America serves as one of the most dramatic examples of this. Kushner wrote about the 1980s AIDS epidemic and how it affected the lives of homosexuals. Specifically, Kushner weaves through the lives of many unique individuals as they deal with life, mortality, and how we use one another to get through the hard times in life. He also brought in a number of postmodern dramatic displays that were new to the American dramatic theater, recognizing how we can use postmodernism to represent how we struggle in different ways to fulfill our own sense of the American dream. In this clip, we see Joe, Harper, Lewis, and Pryor, two separate couples fighting to understand how secrecy and our own personal agendas can get in the way of helping each other get through life.
I'll come over when you want to spend nights with you when I can. I'm doing the best I can.
Pathetic! Who cares?
My whole life has conspired to bring me to this place, and I can't despise my whole life. I think I believed when I met you I could save you. You at least, if not myself, but I don't have any sexual feelings for you, Harper, and I don't think I ever did.
I think you should go.
Kushner's work is so important because it shows that while we have a set image for the American dream in our head, society is always opening its doors to allow for new representations of our own American dream. Despite the strong trend of otherness and unique factors that weigh on how American drama is formed, we ultimately return to universal issues when faced with serious questions about what the human condition is in the United States. This brings us to our third thematic point, how we deal with loss, hurt, and failure in the world. Playwrights Tennessee Williams and Edward Albee often turn to this thematic point, as Albee did in his play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf told the story of a college professor and his wife who deal with the death of their son by covering it up and trying to deal with loss and grief in a way that's unhealthy. Many plays tried to touch on this theme, working with the idea that the American dream isn't easy to find and isn't easy to come to. Albee also toys with symbolism in American theater, as the professor and his wife are named George and Martha, connected back to our first president and his wife. When looking towards the future of American drama, I point to plays like The Laramie Project, which again deal with themes of otherness, grief, and how we can continue to find our own American dream, how we can find happiness in a world that doesn't seem to always make it easily accessible to everyone. Overall, we are still grappling with the issues plaguing society on the 21st century stage. That's why, despite a financial crisis, we still have theater. While film is prime entertainment, it does its own thematic work, and the stage seems to still be a battleground for what it is to be American, what it is to be successful, and how we live in a world that is constantly stacking up against us. I look forward to the next stage of American drama. As we enter a new age, we move towards a theater that raises new questions about issues faced politically, internationally, and ultimately personally for who we are as human beings, and most importantly, who we are as Americans. Thank you for viewing this digital story. I hope that you continue to be a patron and reader of great theater and literature as we look to find the answers to life's perpetual questions under the lights of the American stage.
Comes